Live from the heart of Baylor Bear Country, the most comprehensive pregame coverage. This is Game Day Live, powered by Sikkim 365 and KWTX News 10.
All right, good morning. It's week one of the college football season, at least the first full weekend of the college football season. And we will be live every time that Baylor plays, whatever Saturday it is, at 9 o'clock until 10:30, right here on the mothership of KWTX. I'm David Smoak. Paul Catalina and Craig Smoak are on the set. Baylor and Tarleton State later on today at kickoff at 6, but we will bring you some college football news and preview that game, hear from players and also even Tarleton head coach Todd Whitten. But let's start today. Garrett Ross runs the show today, as he does almost all the time. Last night I get home, Craig, you get home from a late high school game, and I turn the game on. Stanford's leading TCU, and they eventually just overwhelmed them with their offense, made a couple of plays on defense, and the Big 12 gets a win that was dicey for a while against the Cardinal.
Yeah, I mean, TCU was very fortunate to get that win, even though it shouldn't have been a situation of being fortunate. They were clearly better than Stanford and just made a lot of self-inflicted mistakes. So I think there's a lot to clean up there if you're Sonny Dykes and company, but given the unusual circumstances, it's the first game of the year. It's a Friday night. It's a Power 5 opponent or Power 4 opponent. It's at a road venue, and it's just a lot of weird. I mean, Friday night on the road, good conference opponent, and a place like Stanford where it's probably maybe half filled at best. It was just a weird environment. You already knew walking in that they were going to be facing, so to get a win and to do it despite having all of that and then a bunch of mistakes to contend with, I think that's all that you care about if you're Sonny Dykes and company, and good feather in the cap for those who want to argue about the Big 12 versus the ACC. I mean, that doesn't tell the whole tale, but that's a straight head-up matchup that people that want to point to the Big 12, they can do so now. And so that was a good way for TCU to get started, but they got a lot to clean up for sure. And I like Cam Cook, the running back, a lot. I think he's going to be trouble for the Big 12 this year.
Yeah, I came away watching thinking like their offense looked a little wonky based on what we know about the Kendall Briles offense. 42 passes is kind of a lot, for what they normally want to do in that offense, which is straight balance there. And it was 42-34, so they had balance. But I do think that ideally in the Briles offense, you want to throw about 30 passes and hit on some big ones. But they threw a lot. Their top three receivers all had a bunch of receptions. I mean, Savion Williams had 11 catches last night. J.P. Richardson and Jack Besh had 6 catches each. So they were good in other ways, but they
couldn't run the ball well.
They
had 104 yards on 34 carries, so that is what forces you. Plus, they were playing catch-up at the end, and then it was back and forth. But a pretty good game for Hoover. Throws for a couple of touchdowns, 353 yards. Oklahoma late last night, not in the Big 12, but they hammered Temple 51-3. Jackson Arnold threw 4 touchdowns. And Burks, the newcomer, he had 3 of those touchdowns as well. So we update games from late last night. And also, we're going to look in a minute at the Big 12 today. But let's talk about Baylor coming off 3-9, 6-7 the year before when they faded down the stretch. First meeting against Tarleton State. And we'll hear from Darby Brown. In fact, Darby's with us right now from KWTX. Darby, I know it's early in the morning. Thank you for getting up with us as well. Your thoughts as Baylor just needs something positive, even though they should roll against Tarleton State. We don't have audio?
You're muted.
We don't have audio?
Darby, you're muted.
Oh, she's muted. I'm sorry. Let me see. All right, let's try to get that. Garrett?
I just sent her a text.
Okay, we'll go back to her. Let me know when she's ready again. We just need something to see as who we are and what Dave Aranda and his staff need to see, because honestly, we don't know what to expect from them because of so many incoming new faces, like most everybody in college football. And but the excitement of at least the quarterback, DeQuan Finn, what he can bring to the table on the offensive end.
He's the dual threat they haven't had in a while. I mean, Blake Shapen could move around a little bit. Gary Bohannon could, but he wasn't as much of a passing threat as he was a running threat. So if this turns out to be what they really think it can be, They should have a lot better success on offense this year. The problem is that we know more about DeQuan Finn, the skill players, the running backs. We don't know much about this offensive line and how it's going to look together, and it might be an issue.
Yeah, I mean, DeQuan Finn was a big investment this offseason, and we have not been able to see him fully unleashed, nor do I think they have either. They've had to protect him and certainly haven't wanted him running around during practices the way that he will be finally today. So to see the cuffs come off and to see the full array of his skill set is something I'm very much looking forward to, and it's going to play a massive role in what this overall big picture looks like. But there are plenty of questions throughout this team, starting with that offensive line. And as much as I'm excited to see DeQuan Finn, I also know that he could be partially neutered if they're not able to block for him or open up holes or protect him. So I'm going to be looking right at that offensive line, and hopefully if they're able to do their part, then we're able to see DeQuan Finn flex his legs and flex his arm and show why he was such a big get for them this offseason.
All right, we're still working on getting Darby from McLean Stadium. We'll go back to that in just a moment. Garrett, let's flip the script here. Here is Matt Jones, linebacker Matt Jones, DeQuan Finn. Speaking of DeQuan Finn, they spoke with the media earlier this week about this game, the opening week, and Matt Jones says the obvious, but it's good to hear that they must set the tone early.
Go kick off, you guys jumping at the bit to play somebody else?
Oh, yeah. Can't wait. I was just telling him, can't wait to finally hit someone else, hit another opponent, I can't wait for the whole atmosphere of the stadium, just the Friday going to the hotel leading up to the game, just the whole process. I love it. I'm ready for it.
Just how important is it to kind of start fast and kind of start the season on a positive note?
Yeah, I think it's one of the most important things, going out there, setting the tone, starting fast. You can't go out there and start slow. You can't go out there and give them hope. We got to go out there and, put our foot on their throat from the beginning and not give them any hope, any chance. They're a good team. It's Tarleton. They run their conference. So, we can't let our guards down. We just got to go out there and, like I said, put our foot on their throat from the beginning and stop them.
Can a game like this kind of set the tone for kind of the rest of the season?
Yeah, I think any game in the beginning, no matter who the opponent is, you can set the tone for the rest of the season. Just like last year, Texas State, we didn't really set the tone and see how that led. So you come out, you don't set the tone, you don't do your job. It's just going to be a long season, but I'm very confident. I know we're going to go out there, we're going to do our job, and it's going to be a great first game.
Matt, how do you guys use that as motivation last year? How much do you flush it and say, hey, we got to just focus?
I think we use it every day. We use it as a chip on our shoulder. Just going 3-9. It was one of the worst feelings in my football career. It just wasn't cool coming off the field every time, every game. It just wasn't a good feeling. So we definitely use it as a chip on our shoulder to go out there and not go through that experience again.
Do you take any part of maybe that first series on defense upon yourself to send the message, not even to everyone else, but to your team of hey, this is going to be different?
I've already thought about that. I told myself I want to go out there, set the tone from the beginning. Kind of like a clip of Kobe Bryant in the Olympic game whenever he went and just ran through Paul's face and just set the tone. That was his best friend, but you got to set the tone for your team and set the tone for the other team and let them know, hey, we're here not to play, and we're here to send y'all home with an L.
All right. Have you seen the Three Amigos?
The Three Amigos? No, I have not. No, I have not.
Not even just the clips.
Yeah, I seen the clips before. Not the whole movie. Not the whole movie. No.
Somewhat.
Yeah.
I guess as you kind of take over as QB1, how do you feel, and how has this last week been? Kind of now that you're the guy.
It's been the same approach for me. You know what I'm saying? Like I said before, I've just been chopping wood and carrying water. You know what I'm saying? Just focus on the mission and the task that's at hand, and just really preparing for week 1. So nothing really changed.
For the offense, how important is it to set that rhythm in this first game of the year?
It's very important. Right now, we're trying to make a statement for week 1. You know what I'm saying? Let everybody know who Baylor really is and what we're about, and that's really just it for us. So.
Coach Aranda's mentioned that the O-line has improved the most over fall camp. How are those guys looking so far going into this week?
Looking good, real good. I'll say that for sure. Just steady improvements each day and each meeting. Having those questions, they'll come to me asking questions, I'll go to them asking questions just so we can clarify some things. But overall, I'll say the O-line is doing just fine. So nothing to worry about with them. So.
What do you guys see from Tarleton?
Very true to what they do. They're gonna play some man, some zone here on third downs and stuff like that. And we're gonna be ready. We're gonna be prepared. So, yeah.
I guess how important is it to start strong? That's what Coach Aranda was preaching yesterday to us. How important is it for you to kind of get off to the right foot?
Yeah, it's very important. Just starting off strong. Like I said, we want to come out and make a statement this year. You know what I'm saying? So Tarleton, that's the first game of the season. So we want to make a statement that game. Like Coach Aranda always been saying, starting off strong. He been saying that in the mornings in practice, in the meetings. So just creating our own energy. Having that edge to us, and and just being aggressive and being violent. So yeah.
All right, Matt Jones, the linebacker, and then there's DeQuan Finn out of Detroit, Michigan, played at Toledo, the transfer quarterback, and his thoughts, too, thanks to Jack McKenzie, who does that on all of the media sessions, helping us gather the audio and video. We're back to Darby Brown at McLean Stadium. Kickoff is not until 6 o'clock, but our pregames throughout the year, every Saturday that Baylor plays, 9 until 10:30 on KWTX. And Darby, thanks for your time. Glad we got you back. Your thoughts just about this team coming off 3-9, and as they all said, both of them, they must set the tone early.
Yeah, it's absolutely crucial, right? I mean, they all talked about it. Last year was a terrible start, and then it really just kind of snowballed from there. They have to be better today, and they should be better today. I think DeQuan Finn is going to add a spark to this offense, and he's a guy that can, as Coach Aranda has mentioned, he can create plays when plays are set to die. He kind of finds a way to keep things moving. Baylor hasn't had that in a minute at a quarterback position, and so I think that could be really big for them today. And then, it's just hopefully it's going to be a good game. Fans want to see a strong start they had a terrible performance here last year at home many times. And so I think in general, fans are really hoping to see things start off strong today.
Darby, how key is that for fans to get enthused? Because, you know this by going to games at home at the end of last year, the mood was dour, and that's contagious to the players as well.
Yeah, I mean, I'll just be honest. It wasn't very fun covering this team last year. It wasn't fun. and it was mostly because of the fans, because everyone was just doom and gloom and, saying mean things to everybody. And it was just not fun. And so I really, I think if they can see a spark, see some changes, and ultimately if Baylor can get a win, I think that's, it's not going to make everything better, but certainly this is a game they should win. And so it would be big.
Darby, how much do you anticipate all of the growing pains that we saw last year, all of these young players, the Caden Jenkinses and so forth, how much do you anticipate that to, be something that they have as more of a strength this season?
Yeah, I'm glad you mentioned that. I think it really will be. And I think that was a win in the offseason that they did keep some of those younger guys and continue to develop them. I know, some people might have said, maybe we want some fresh things, and they did get some fresh things in there. But I think that balance of continuing to build up some of those younger guys and winning the recruiting battle really within their own team to keep them here, I think that should pay off for Baylor this season.
Yeah, it's crazy because 3-9, and it was kind of an as far as the early part of recruiting. Signing day was okay, and they did add to the transfer portal. But, Darby, do you feel that momentum based on what they've been able to do, even though players they've signed are next year, not this year?
Oh, yeah. I think that's really been huge for Dave Aranda and his staff to have some momentum, have some things people are excited about. But everyone knows those players are not going to be on the field this season. Hopefully, I think what should happen is they should be able to have some improvements with the guys they did bring in here. But obviously, those guys aren't going to be here on the field. But definitely, the whole thing is adding some momentum and adding some things for people to be excited about. But certainly, they're not going to be here. So it is what it is. They're going to have to wait to get those guys on the field. And if you're a Baylor fan, you hope that Baylor has a good enough year that everyone kind of can keep those guys coming here.
Big 12 Media Days, I got a sense of, different approach from Dave Aranda, which is obvious. Do you get the sense around the players that there is maybe more enthusiasm heading into this year than last year?
Yeah, I don't even know if I would say enthusiasm, but almost like intensity. Like Dave Aranda has been very intense and very serious and very clear on the fact that they need to win games. It's really, it's good that they have a good culture. It's good that they care about these guys as people, and obviously everyone should. But I think you got to win games, obviously, to keep the program going. And that has been said on almost every media availability last spring, especially through the fall, really ramping it up. So I think there's an intensity, there's almost an edge there that I think could be a good thing. And I definitely think the players are noticing that. They know they got to win some games. They're on a mission right now.
Yeah, when they went 12-2 and 21, there was a lot of carryover with person over player and all that, and that sound great. And Dave Aranda's a super nice guy, and he's the Jedi. But in this business, as you said, you got to win games, and really, person over player is great. You could still do that, but the players and the coaches need to win games.
Absolutely. I mean, there's no doubt it's a great culture. These are great kids. You know, we all interact with them. And so, you know, they have all of that. But ultimately, the bottom line is they have to win. It is what it is. And so I think right now there seems to be a balance between, hey, we're still focusing on that stuff, but we're also focusing on making this a solid program and one that fans can be proud of. And so I think, you know, that's the mission really for this season. And so we'll see how it pays out for them.
By the way, before we let you go, we'll have you again later in the show. Darby, I watched the coverage you guys had of high school football leading up to the opening week, of course, Thursday night, and then again last night. And you and Chad did a great job with how you set that up, because that could be monotonous. Every year, the same thing. Wanted to compliment with you. I've sent you a text on that. Congratulations, and I hope you had a great first couple of nights of high school football.
Thank you so much. Yeah, we really enjoy what we do with the high schools around here too. So it's been fun. And now we get a little bit of both. Now we get some college football. So it's all good.
Time to go. Thank you. Darby Brown at McLean Stadium. She'll join us again a little bit later on in the pregame show. We'll also look at, we mentioned TCU winning last night. We'll also later in this show look at the Big 12 schedule, the top 25 schedule, a couple of nuggets from the last couple of nights with the games on Thursday and also on Friday. So far, the Big 12's 5-0. And then you look at their schedule, and they should be 5-0 with a couple of games that were testers, Colorado, North Dakota State, and then last night that game with TCU and also Stanford. But they're 5-0. And anything, and like Craig said in a text message, I think it was last night, they beat an ACC team no matter what they did. And then, of course, North Dakota State, nobody wants to play them in non-conference. And Colorado and Shedeur and company and Travis Hunter and Dion came up with a win at home.
Garrett and I talked about that game at length yesterday on the show. But curious as to you guys' opinions, I would tell you the only thing I see different from Colorado is there's a different conference, and that's about it. Like the way that their style of play hasn't changed. Their offensive line's a little bit better, but their finesse is out-finessing everybody, but they have no nitty-gritty.
Yeah, I think that they look slightly improved in some areas, like up front on defense. I think that they looked a little bit better. It's hard to gauge from just one game, but I think for the most part it's still the Shedeur and Travis Hunter show. And beyond that, you know, Horn had a huge game for Colorado. I think you got to give him a lot of credit. Had, 198 yards. So between he and Hunter, I mean, they've got a couple of dudes at wide receiver that are going to be very productive, and Shedeur can obviously sling it. I mean, there's people that hate Dion and hate on Colorado as a result of their feelings about him or just how out in front, in your face Colorado is. And I get it. I get why, you know, they can rub people the wrong way, but the people that try and somehow poke holes in Shedeur like he's not a good player, I think are just being, haters. They're just being haters because that kid can spin it, and he's not perfect. The decision to throw the ball late in that game when you could have churned clock, I think was, not something that you're coached to do or something that you would tell your quarterback to do. But from what Dion said, they weren't giving him the run. He basically said that people want him to run the football to run the clock, but if they're not giving you the run, then what's the point? You got to get first downs. And so that's what Shedeur was trying to do, was to get first downs. And how do they get first downs on Colorado's offense right now? They throw the football. So, that was an interesting thing towards the end that you hear more of the explanation. You're like, okay, but, still.
That also could have bit you in the butt.
It could have. So,
it worked. It didn't.
It worked out, but, Shedeur's great. Travis Hunter's, I should say Travis Hunter's great. Shedeur's really, really good. And then, Horn, as I mentioned, had a big game. We'll see. It's just a little sample size, and there's a lot more to go to know if the offensive line's really better, if they can run the football. But as I said with TCU last night, a win's a win. That's all that matters. It really is. You can dissect it however you want to, but you'd rather be 1-0 than 0-1. You'd rather be an ugly 1-0 than a great-looking 0-1. And so Colorado's 1-0 had, I think it was like nearly 5 million people watching. So they were a TV success as well. And so long as they keep their head above water. People are going to tune in just to watch them lose, and I think that's a great thing and attraction for the Big 12. So, yeah, that was another win that could have gone sideways, but they got the job done.
All right, we played the audio of DeQuan Finn, Matt Jones, Darby Brown live from McLean Stadium. When we come back, a couple of things when it comes to college football. Top 25, some college notes, teams out of the state of Texas and what they're doing today. All 13, of course, FBS teams are in action this first weekend. Most everybody is around college football. It's that weekend where there were games on Thursday, last night, also today, tomorrow, and even into Monday, 5 consecutive days of college football. And, of course, every weekday from 3 until 6, you can watch us on 365 Sports and Paul and Triple Option Monday through Thursday from 1 until 2 with college football, your fix. When we come back, more Baylor Game Day on KWTX and college football live next on 365 Sports.
Game Day Live, sponsored locally by Central Texas Plumbing Solutions and Bird Colgin Ford.
Central Texas Plumbing Solution is the team you can count on to go the extra mile and resolve your plumbing problems quickly and thoroughly, getting it done right the first time. So when you need some help before the big game, call Central Texas Plumbing Solutions.
What sets Hillcrest Dental Care apart is our vision of how we want to care for our patients to improve their health and their quality of life, whether it's the teeth, the gums, the bite, or the smile.
Because I didn't feel anything at all. When I woke up there, I had everything done. I go to the restaurant to eat, and the waitress said this, "You got new teeth." So they noticed them too. If you want something done that is good and permanent, this is the place to go.
Waco is the heart of Texas. Centrally located and home to industry-leading distribution centers like Amazon, Walmart, and Tractor Supply. From Waco, it's easy to get anywhere you want to go. And at Jeff Hunter Toyota, we have the perfect vehicle to get you there. Like the new Toyota Tundra, Toyota RAV4, Highlander, and Tacoma. Go where you want to go in a new Toyota. Find yours today at Jeff Hunter Toyota. Toyota quality, Waco values.
Central Texas Plumbing Solution is the team you can count on to go the extra mile and resolve your plumbing problems quickly and thoroughly, getting it done right the first time. So when you need some help before the big game, call Central Texas Plumbing Solutions.
The conference schedule a little bit later on in this show, and also we'll hear from Todd Whitten, the head coach at Tarleton State, and also much more. But there are some bangers this weekend in college football, and there is the schedule. We can touch on some of these as we go along. Either one of you, Paul or Craig, you fire up when I mention. Obviously, there's a chance that ATN, Georgia's running back, may not play. That was a report from earlier today.
I think he's out, right?
Okay, he's out. That's why I brought it up. 14th ranked Clemson and Dabo Swinney against Georgia and the number 1 ranked team in the country. That's an 11 o'clock start, kickoff, right, in Atlanta, and that game on ABC.
I think that obviously not having ATN is big. His brother played at Clemson. They're very close. So this would be a game where if I was going to be suspended, it would probably sting a lot. But he was not necessarily the only running back for Georgia, and we know that. So while they're not going to have that burst and a guy transferred in from Florida and is really incredible, I don't know how much it's going to affect what their overall game plan is against Clemson. Clemson needs to muddy this game up as much as they can because they're going to be outskilled and they're going to be outexperienced. One of the things that Dabo Swinney has taken the chance of when it comes to not getting in the transfer portal, almost every team that they play from now on is going to be older than them. So you better hope that your young guys are better than those older guys, and he's pretty good at that. But even still, there's going to be a veteran tilt in almost every single game that they play this year, and Georgia certainly has more experienced guys than Clemson, and I think that's kind of where the rubber meets the road here in this game.
Yeah, I mean, Georgia should be fine without ETN, but they also lost Robinson to surgery, so they're going to be playing with some young running backs. I mean, that's going to be the big factor is if these young running backs are ready. I don't think it'll be, the tail of the tape is just the running back position. So I think that's why it's not, devastating news for Georgia. And I think you've also been preparing for this, right? Like you had to have some idea this was coming. So you've been getting ready for that. And therefore you're hoping that Branson Robinson and Nate Frazier and maybe even a walk-on by the name of Cash Jones are going to be able to lift the load for you today. And then, you can have Roderick Robinson get back, eventually. I don't know what his timeline is, and obviously ETN next week. So, yeah, just get through today. You knew this was coming after what happened in the offseason, so I don't think you're too jarred by it. But it's going to be a really interesting game, and I can't wait to see just how it unfolds because we've, heard plenty this offseason, but to actually see these teams, not just in this game, but across the country, I mean, that's what we waited on. So for all the talk, like what does it really look like? And especially in a big mega matchup like that, I'm very curious for both sides.
Roderick Robinson, the second out with that surgery on his turf toe, and now ATN because of that arrest. Georgia has to send messages in some ways because of the rash of problems they had off the field during the offseason and, of course, the tragedy a couple of years ago. And then this one, a huge game for the Big 12. It's a big game for Penn State and also James Franklin. But Neil Brown and the Mountaineers, they had alum Pat McAfee, who donated $1 million to their NIL yesterday. They eventually, after they closed all the high schools and schools around the county, they eventually shut down the campus. It is a mad, crazy atmosphere in Morgantown, West Virginia, and what could be a massive win if West Virginia can get it done.
I watched a little bit yesterday and thinking they're going to run out of really cheap beer. They're going to have to put some of that NIL money. McAfee's going to have to pick up bar tabs for kids
on Advil
who can't. Look, they're going to run out of the lower rung stuff. They're going to have to start. McAfee's going to have to start throwing in for maybe some higher end beer so that they can get it because they're going to run out of that there in West Virginia. I'm picking West Virginia straight up and down in this game. I mean, they're 8.5-point dogs. I know that normally that's a bad thing to do against James Franklin. He enters into a game with a touchdown favorite. He wins the game. They're like 19-3-1 against the spread in those games in his career. I just think this means so much to them. And did I hear right that Ren Baker said that they've got to retire Pat McAfee's number?
They're talking about that. Yeah. They're talking about that. Remember, there's a disconnect. You have that sometimes when a program's history gets left behind with transition of coaches, but Neil Brown and Ren Baker, they're doing it right with Pat McAfee and company.
Well, y'all saw what he did, right? He donated $1 million. Oh, you said that?
Yeah.
I didn't hear you say that.
Yeah.
Okay. I guess I was just zoning out for a second. But, yeah, no, that was incredible to see that and to see the support that the old Mountaineers are rallying with him kind of in charge in a way publicly, right? Because for a long time he wasn't. That's been well documented, and now he seems to have caught the bug for West Virginia again. And to have the show there in Morgantown and the madhouse that looked like, and to make that big contribution to just keep propelling West Virginia football and to support Neil Brown, I think you're a West Virginia fan that you're in heaven right now. And the only way you could get higher is to go and beat Penn State today. Easier said than done, but with that crowd behind them, anything's possible, and that should be a great game.
Of course, game day is in College Station. We'll get to Notre Dame and Texas A&M momentarily. I'm just going to go down to the game. There's a couple others. Iowa plays at home, Tennessee at home, South Dakota State, Oklahoma State, and Stillwater. North Dakota State, of course, gave Colorado almost everything they could handle. South Dakota State, the defending national title holders. In FCS, Mike Gundy in Oklahoma State, Alan Bowman, the very aged quarterback in Oklahoma State with a bunch of people back. That game will kick off at 1 o'clock.
Yeah, I'm curious to see, how Oklahoma State comes out and tries to punch back at the same way. I think they'll be a little better prepared than Colorado was. And again, this is not a knock on Colorado. It's more of a compliment to Mike Gundy. He's got more experience and that teams play together more. And I guess giving Colorado a little bit of credit against North Dakota State, that's an elite FCS team. They've played together a lot longer than your guys have. So there was going to be some probably continuity things in a 50-thing stretch. I don't think Oklahoma State's going to have that continuity problem when they play South Dakota State.
Looking forward to seeing Ollie Gordon and just them back in the saddle with basically everybody back at their disposal. I think if you're Oklahoma State, just take care of your business, stay healthy. This shouldn't be a huge challenge, although it's one that you've definitely got to, be mindful of because it's no slouch that's rolling in. But they should be able to handle their business just fine. And, I look forward to seeing Ollie Gordon back in the saddle doing his thing.
2 more games in the top 25. Also, Kansas State, of course, at home against UT Martin. That game kicks off tonight at 6. A couple of games we touch on, and then we need to break. Miami with Mario Cristobal, year 3. Lots of expectations on the road in Gainesville against Billy Napier. And in a program in Florida that needs something good to happen. Not sure it happens today against the Hurricanes.
Well, I mean, these are 2 programs facing similar level of expectations year in and year out from their fans that have not delivered lately. Mario Cristobal has far less pressure on him than Billy Napier does, but going into the Swamp, Billy Napier's got a lot of pressure. Mario Cristobal's got a lot of pressure. Classically, the Hurricanes don't play well in the Swamp. Classically, most human beings don't play well in the Swamp when they go there. So given the fact that that's such a difficult place to play, even though Miami looks like they are roster-wise head and shoulders above Florida, I don't know what we're going to see from Billy Napier when he's backed into a corner, and I think this could be this would be a bloody battle.
It'd be a heck of a win for either one. It'd be a great win for Florida, and Miami needs it too to start the year right. One more game to touch on. There's the rest of the schedule. Notre Dame and Texas A&M. Did you guys know that Rudy, the real Rudy, is going to be at Kyle Field? Game day's there right now. It will be 108 10 whatever thousand they can jam into Kyle Field. A&M needs a win to start the Mike Elko era. Notre Dame and Marcus Freeman are ranked inside the top 10.
Well, look, A&M had Rudy before Rudy and E. King Gill. There's a statue of him outside. He was the original walk-on that came and stood there. So and that's kind of a nice juxtaposition there. I have no idea what to expect from A&M, just because everything's new, but I expect them to be much more fundamentally sound and more confusing to watch for the opponent than Jimbo Fisher rolling out the playbook from 2011.
Yeah, I mean, it's exciting to see another big matchup on this opening weekend, and I very much look forward to seeing just the differences in this A&M-led team with Elko at the helm versus Jimbo Fisher. Connor Wegman's obviously getting a lot of love. They've recruited really well. And Notre Dame's obviously a team that's got a lot of talent in their own right. And Marcus Freeman, I think this is a game that they need to kickstart their season. So whoever emerges victorious is going to have a big win under their belts right out of the gates and is going to be well set up to move forward. But should be, much like in Morgantown, a rabid crowd in College Station.
By the way, thanks to KWTX and that great crew, the control team, Josh Young, of course, when we sat down a couple of years ago to discuss what we could do to do the Game Day Live. And then this year we moved it to 9 o'clock every Saturday morning following the local news. And then what we do every night at 10:30 on the CW with 365 Sports Tonight. When we come back, Garrett Ross every week with his keys to the game. A little bit later on, Tarleton State football coach Todd Whitten. We'll also hear a little bit from Phil Bennett and others on this opening game with Dave Aranda and Baylor in need of a win no matter who they're playing. This is Game Day Live.
Get ready, Baylor fans. The ultimate game weekend experience awaits you at the Baylor Club. Kick off your weekend with our Friday Night Live pep rally. With live entertainment and special appearances from the Baylor Spirit Squad, it's the perfect way to start your game weekend with a roar. On Saturdays, don't miss our Knox Hall tailgate. Enjoy delicious food, ice-cold drinks, and great company as you gear up for the big game. And after the weekend's excitement, wrap it all up with our famous Bear brunches on Sundays. Don't wait. Make your game weekends legendary with a Baylor Club membership today.
Baylor Scott & White Southwest Sports Medicine and Orthopedics, the team physicians for Baylor Athletics, diagnosing and treating all sports-related injuries, including concussions. These specialists also provide orthopedic services for athletes and non-athletes alike, whether it's knee or shoulder pain, a wrist injury, orthopedic spine care, and even an arthritis and total joint clinic. Trust the doctors Baylor Athletics trust. Baylor Scott & White Southwest Sports Medicine and Orthopedics wants to get you back in the game.
Make Camp Finfo the destination for your next visit to Waco. Whether you're catching a football game, exploring the silos, or just looking to get away, Camp Finfo Waco is conveniently located 6 miles from downtown and Baylor University. Voted a #1 best vacation rental in Waco for the last 2 years, this camping resort features cabins and RV sites and is brimming with premium amenities like on-site dining, sports courts, a swimming pool, and more. Start making unforgettable memories and book your stay at Camp Finfo Waco.
Edward Jones Financial Advisors Ben Erlinson, Brad Wilson, and Cam Heathcott understand these are difficult and changing times we live in, but they know how important your financial investments are to you. So is your financial advisor staying in touch with you and helping you navigate today's financial climate? Invest with Edward Jones Financial Advisors Ben Erlinson, Chuck Verno, Brad Wilson, and Cam Heathcott will invest their time and experience back to you and your money. And like coaching athletes, investing money is about time, patience, and encouragement. Contact Ben Erlinson at 254-759-8533. Brad Wilson's location at 250 Sharon Drive in Woodway, and Cam Heathcott in Conroe. Edward Jones Financial Advisors, Ben Erlinson, Brad Wilson, and Cam Heathcott, proud sponsors of 365 Sports. Edward Jones, making sense of investing, member SIPC.
There are 26 letters in the alphabet, over 600,000 words in the dictionary, and just 3 of them said together can change everything. Let's order pizza. Those 3 words lead to dough made from scratch and 3 fresh signature cheeses that blanket golden crust in a heavenly melt on Marco's Pizza that'll blow your mind. So visit marcos.com to order and stop by Marco's Pizza in Belmead, China Spring, Woodway, and in Robinson. Marco's. Pizza lovers get it.
Back into Game Day Live. I'm Garrett Ross with today's Keys to the Game presented by Richard Carr Motors. Look, this should be an easy game for Baylor, just to be blunt, just to be honest. Baylor has gotten significantly better since last year. They've addressed a lot of issues through the transfer portal. They've made some changes on the coaching staff as well, bringing in Jake Spavital to finally give a boost to this offense that was really just lacking over the past couple of years. But when you look at this matchup with Tarleton, which is the first matchup between these two programs, Baylor should honestly dominate this game. I don't think there's really an area, a phase of football that Baylor should struggle when they face the Texans. Now, I know Tarleton State has one game under their belt as they got that dub last week against McNeese, but it also came at expense with their quarterback, Victor Gabales. He's done for a couple of games. He's going to miss this one in particular today against Baylor. But this is an opportunity for the Bears to come out, show their dominance up front, and really get into setting the tone early and often. So that's where we're going to start with our first key to the game, which is simply dominate the trenches. You know, Baylor struggled with this all year last season. The rushing attack was never really able to get going. The offensive line never really established any sense of dominance. They struggled mightily in every game they played. And at the end of the day, you had Richard Reese, who had shown that he was extremely explosive his freshman season, was non-existent. You brought in Dominic Richardson from Oklahoma State. He gets banged up. He doesn't really get anything going. And it just led to both of your quarterbacks getting injured. Blake Shapen got hurt. Sawyer Robertson also got hurt. And they could never get any push. Their offense never really got going. And then on the flip side, their defense, they could not stop anybody. You had TJ Franklin that was coming back. You had Gabe Hall coming back. You expected both of those guys being elder statesmen in the lineup to really take a step forward, and they just didn't do it. And I don't think that was necessarily coaching. I think when you're at that point in your career, it's really about your own motor and getting in your head. Like, you've got to step up and become that dude. And that just never happened last year. And you go on the plus side for Baylor, you do have your leading tackler and Matt Jones back. So that's nice. And as old as he is, and as long as he's been in this scheme, especially with Dave Aranda calling the plays, like, Matt Jones should be able to take that next jump that he's kind of been lacking up to this point. But then you also have Trevin Maye coming in, who got some reps last year as he transferred in from Oregon, but he never really had an impact. I think having a full off season under his belt, that should help with him as well. You have Jackie Marshall, who should also be able to come in and cause some disruption up front. And I think this is just a must. You have to be able to do it in this game, because if you're not able to do it against Tarleton, you're not going to be able to do it all year long. Like, this is your one opportunity, and you really need to be able to get cohesive, build a bond, because next week when you go into Utah, I mean, if you watch that game on Thursday night, the Utes are ready. They're going to be extremely difficult. They're very physical, especially on their defensive line. So this is a good opportunity for Baylor to come out, and if they aren't able to push the Texans around, my God, we are going to be in for another long season. But I really don't think that's going to be the case. I think Baylor should come out, handle Tarleton in the trenches, really just establish what they want and push the Texans around. So that kind of leads into our second key to this game, which is just run the ball at will. Last year, we saw it. We talked about it a while ago. Baylor was never able to get any rushing attack established. You also had two guys at your quarterback position, whether it was Chapin or Robertson, who are in the game, that's just not their skill set. They can take off and run, and more so Robertson than what Chapin was able to do. But at the same time, if you're not able to block for them, you can't get anything going, you're screwed. And I think right now, Baylor needs to come out, and hopefully they get that leverage up front. You have a whole stable of running backs, whether it is Richard Reese, whether it's Bryson Washington, who has really gained a lot of attention in camp over the course of this season. There's been a lot of rave reviews coming out for what he's been able to do. You have Dawson Pendergrass, who we've seen last year was honestly their most successful running back. When you have another year under your belt there, he's only going to get stronger. And then you have Dom Richardson, like we mentioned. There's a good core, and if you go and look at the depth chart that was put out, it's all oars. There's not like one designated starter on here. That was the case for multiple position groups, but in particular, I think you're going to take a running back by committee approach with Baylor. I think that's kind of where we're at right now in general with the running back position, especially as you see this the way things have unfolded in the NFL. But this is a great opportunity for Baylor. I honestly think they should have multiple guys come out and rush for over 100 yards in this game. I would honestly be shocked if that wasn't the case. And then here's the kicker. While we were talking about all those quarterbacks and the injuries and not being able to really elude the pressure that was in the pocket, you bring in Daquan Finn, who's your MAC player of the year last year. This cat's been clocked at over 20 miles an hour running. You saw what he was able to do against Ohio State. He's been able to rush on multiple opportunities, not just in the MAC and destroy people, but other Power 5 programs when he was there for the Rockets as well. And I think that's something that Baylor has been missing. I'm not saying he's RG3 by any means, but this is going to be the closest thing with the legs that you've seen since that. And we know how exciting that was here in Waco. It was a blast to watch. And I think Finn can bring that type of energy. He's just going to have to be consistent. And I'm going to be honest, I was able to see a little bit this year, and he's in practice, and when he gets loose, man, it's fun. It's going to be really key. But I also think, like, when you have as many running backs as you do, and you have a very versatile quarterback, and you look at the way McNeese was able to run the ball with their quarterback last week against Tarleton's defense, there really shouldn't be an issue for Baylor in this game at all. There just really shouldn't be. And finally, at the end of the day with this, our final key is going to be just stay healthy. I mean, in the games like this, it's crucial to stay healthy. I think this is one where you just kind of come out, you get your reps, you leave your starters out there, not as maybe about a quarter, maybe the first half, and then you start pulling, because there's no need in risking an injury, especially when you look at the schedule going forward. You only have one team left, and that's Air Force in a couple of weeks, who isn't a Big 12 foe. Now, granted, the Utah game next week is a non-conference game, but at the end of the day, that's still a Big 12 team, and a very good Big 12 team at that. So it's only going to get more daunting for Baylor as the schedule goes and progresses through this season. But this is one where you just got to be smart. You got to be just diligent with what you do. And if you're this coaching staff, you hope to just get out there, establish something early on, build that lead, get everybody out, and just stay healthy and continue to roll and build off the momentum, hopefully, of a dub heading into next week. I think Baylor could do that. I picked the Bears to win 42-10. Honestly, with Gabalis being out, I wouldn't be surprised if Baylor is able to extend that and beat Tarleton worse than that. But at the end of the day, Tarleton's going to come out. They're going to give their best shot. Just stay healthy. Have fun. I'm glad everybody's back here on the banks of the Brazos, and I hope you enjoy your Saturday. I hope it's a win for you. We'll be back with more Game Day Live right after this.
Kick back and save during Du Bois Furniture's incredible Labor Day sale. Fresh looks, fantastic savings up to 60% off store-wide. Plus, save even more with bonus in-store discounts or special financing. Now at Du Bois Furniture.
I am so glad we called SPJST to help with our retirement.
I'll never forget the day we called them.
You need to call SPJST instead of that annuity. You do not want to retire like your parents.
What do you mean?
Y'all, we're out of toilet paper.
Yeah, I'll call SPJST right now.
SPJST Annuities, with guaranteed growth and income to last your entire life. It's easier than hindsight.
Good call.
SPJST, growing wealth for Texas families since 1897.
Chevy lets you begin every day fully charged, so you can go farther. And so can your money. Tow with confidence. Plus, stay connected with available OnStar technology. For summer adventures, Chevy's got you.
Well-qualified buyers can get 1.9% financing on this 2024 Silverado. Or get $5,750 total cash allowance. That's 10% below MSRP.
Chevrolet, the #1 selling brand in the Waco area.
Every great date starts with a great night's sleep. Now during Du Bois Furniture's Labor Day mattress sale, upgrade your sleep and save up to $900 on select Stearns & Foster, Tempur-Pedic, and Sealy adjustable sets. Only at Du Bois Furniture.
An innovation for second chances. Monday night at 10 on KWTX.
Head coach at Tarleton State, Baylor, Tarleton State, Saturday evening at 6 at McLean Stadium. And Coach Whitten joins us now on 365 Sports. Thank you for being a part of the show. I know you had a busy day. How much, and looking back on playing the game the week before, being able to get that done, can you already tell a little bit of a difference in what that meant?
Well, yeah, I'm a firm believer. I think this is year 20 for me being a head football coach, but yeah, I think you learn a lot week one, and a lot of the real improvement you make is early in the season, is between week 1 and 2, maybe week 3. So it is good to have that initial game kind of under our belt, and so I don't think there's any question it was good for us, and a lot was learned.
Coach, I'd be remiss if I didn't ask this question, but I understand if you need to plead the fifth. How's your quarterback, Victor Gabalis, feeling after Saturday?
Yeah, no, he's going to miss this week, and so. He had a thumb injury, and he's gonna probably be out a couple of weeks. And so, but we will get him back sooner rather than later. And so, I think he's a pretty good player. And and so, we you hate that, but it's college football, and these things happen. And so, we've got to get our other quarterbacks ready to roll, and I think they will respond this week.
Todd, I've known you for a while. I say that every time we have you on because of the connection in Nacogdoches, but thank you for being honest about that. I mean, I know a lot of times a lot of coaches just wouldn't have been able to say anything, or they would. And no, seriously, the transparency there. He's out. You let him know. The team knows. Let's move on.
Yeah, no question. I'm a big believer in communicating with our players, and it is what it is. And so we've got to kind of rally the troops, and and it was kind of out there for everybody to see. We were on national television on Saturday, but nevertheless, we've got a lot more to worry about in blocking and tackling those guys at Baylor, and so that's where our focus really is, and going all in on our backup quarterbacks and trying to make sure those guys are ready to go and give us a chance to win on Saturday.
When you you have to punch up a weight class this week, how do you balance out the emotion that's going to go in because your guys are going to be fired up to come into Waco and play Baylor, and then balance out the let's make sure we get better and don't just get so excited about this opportunity and lose the rhythm of preparation?
Yeah, that's a really good question, I think. We have not played our best or what we're capable of. So 2 years ago, we opened the season at TCU. And then last year, about week 2 or 3, we played Texas Tech. And we just sort of got overwhelmed, and we got off to slow starts, and it's hard to dig out of a ditch like that, when you play up a division. And so, one of the real keys is to getting off to a good start. I wouldn't say a fast start, just get the game going and try to keep from having shooting yourself in the foot. A year ago, our first possession on offense, we threw a pick 6. And so stuff like that. But make no mistake, every time we tee it up, our plan is to go to Baylor on Saturday and play really well and get out of there with a win. And so we know that the odds will be against us. Again, I'm honest with our players about that. And information is so plentiful these days, so the odds on these games is out there for everybody to see. But we have a good team, and we've got a lot of good players, and we've had 3 really, really good days of practice and preparation. And so our plan is to win every game we ever play. And so, we've got 26 seniors on this football team. And so I think they will be there and they will fire their best shot. As a coaching staff, we just have to do a good job of having a good plan and navigating all the different things that go into this. And so, but I think our fellows I think they'll be ready and again, really excited. And it's a great opportunity for any football team that gets the opportunity to play up a division.
So many changes. Jake Spavital, now the offensive coordinator. Coach Aranda now heavily involved with the defense as much as he is the head coach. Do you have, and DeQuan Finn, the transfer from Toledo, do you have any idea what to expect this weekend?
Well, I think Coach Aranda is just as fine a coach as there is out there anywhere. I know when he was a defensive coordinator, he was considered the very best in the country. And so, I think he's got a wonderful staff there. And I think they had some unfortunate things a year ago, but I think they've got all the makings of a good team. And so, but to answer your question, we got to go back and we got to look at Cal, for Spavital. We go back and we've been looking at 2019 LSU, and then also studying the personnel from the Baylor squad and the new guys and the transfer quarterback from Toledo. And so a lot of different things you've got to tend to now in these early games where there are some question marks, but yeah, it's never easy. I like the idea of the NFL where you get about 3 or 4 preseason games, but we don't get those in college. So they're all really important.
This is a separate game. It's Tarleton against Baylor. It's this year. A lot of new places, new faces, especially with the transfer portal. Do you feel like the Texas State game last year in Waco helped you or hurt you in this case?
Well, yeah, maybe, a little of both. Now Texas State has 85 scholarships.
Yeah, that's true. Yeah.
We've got 63, but probably a little of both. Everybody involved in the Baylor program is going to point to that game, say, let's not let that happen again. And so we can point to that game and, everybody's eligible to go and play well, no matter who the opponent, and to come out of there with a win. So we have a good football team, a good football program, and we're going to fire our best shot on Saturday.
Hey, Todd, great conversation as always with you. I know you got a lot on your plate. We'll see you Saturday. Axum Jackson, also good luck to Tarleton State this weekend.
Okay, thank y'all for having me on.
Todd Whitten, head coach at Tarleton State.
Game Day Live, sponsored locally by Central Texas Plumbing Solutions and Bird Colgin Ford.
Central Texas Plumbing Solution is the team you can count on to go the extra mile and resolve your plumbing problems quickly and thoroughly. getting it done right the first time. So when you need some help before the big game, call Central Texas Plumbing Solutions.
Hi, I'm Mark Stewart with Bird Colgin Ford. Get out of the heat and come check out our Labor Day sales event in the largest showroom in Texas at Bird Colgin Ford. Right now, get 3.9% on the F-150. Save big with 2.9 on the Ford Explorer. Don't miss 1.9 on the Ford Escape. Come celebrate the final days of summer during the Labor Day sales event at Bird Colgin Ford. Experience better at BK Ford.
What sets Hillcrest Dental Care apart is our vision of how we want to care for our patients to improve their health and their quality of life, whether it's the teeth, the gums, the bite, or the smile.
Because I didn't feel anything at all. When I woke up there, I had everything done. I go to the restaurant to eat, and the waitress said this, "You got new teeth." So they noticed it too. If you want something done that is good and permanent, this is the place to go.
Central Texas Plumbing Solution is the team you can count on to go the extra mile and resolve your plumbing problems quickly and thoroughly, getting it done right the first time. So when you need some help before the big game, call Central Texas Plumbing Solutions.
All right, wake up. Here we go. College football. Game Day live on KWTX and 365 Sports. We will hear a little bit later from Ricky Thompson, Baylor radio sideline analyst, and also more to get to, including just a second from Phil Bennett, former Baylor defensive coordinator. Craig Smoak, Paul Catalina in studio. Garrett Ross runs the mothership. This is 365 Sports and KWTX. And also, by the way, special thanks to a couple of our new sponsors for this season through 365 Sports with the Baylor Alumni Fan Engagement and also the Baylor Club. And General Manager Mike Mosel, we appreciate them for being part of what we do on game day and also throughout the week. So Phil Bennett, former Baylor defensive coordinator, joins us on Mondays to look back at every game or the games of interest and also maybe some things in college football. And one of the questions that we asked him this week was, with Dave Aranda coming up 6-7, the way that season ended, and then 3-9, can the pressure of needing to win, we know now that he's taken over the defense, even brought in Gary Patterson for a short time, that does the pressure to win, no matter your personality or your style, can it affect how you coach on game day? Head coach, there's pressure. More now maybe than ever before, but there's pressure 50, 70, 80 years ago. In reference to someone like a Ryan Day at Ohio State who's got this incredible talented team, or someone like Dave Aranda at Baylor who needs to win, can, other than the obvious pressure of being a head coach, can the legitimate heat of your future and job affect how you coach on game day?
Oh, absolutely. We're human. Yeah. Smokey, you know that. Yeah. Now, Ryan Day, I can tell you right now, all they want to talk about is his $20 million season. It's a $20 million payroll. If he doesn't win the Big Ten in the playoffs and win it, it's not going to be a good season for him. And that is pressure, a different kind of pressure. Dave Aranda's pressure is, hey, they started off good. He 21, they won the league, and then it's been in a decline since then. Can he restart it? His restart will be, if they could go 7-5, in my opinion, from what I saw a year ago, that would be a really successful season for him.
So that's Phil Bennett, defensive coordinator at Baylor back when they were winning conference titles that back-to-back year. And, of course, he's also been at a lot of schools and under the Bill Snyder regime at Kansas State, the former A&M star. and also coached there, Oklahoma, you name it, Arizona State. He has been there, North Texas most recently. So I don't think there's any question. If it doesn't matter what you're doing, if you're like trying to pass the driver's ed test or you're trying to get your license, some people handle that pressure differently. And if you fail it, then the next time it's even worse. It's more, and by the way, that's from personal experience with me because I couldn't parallel park. But your guy, as far as what Dave Aranda, he has a different tone. There's a different look. That doesn't mean there will be different results, but how much do you think that comes into play? I know they're supposed to win easily tonight, but we said that probably about Texas State last year too.
Yeah, I think this is a little bit different, but everything's got to come into play for them. They didn't do most things right last year, so everything kind of had to be changed. And whether it is going and spending more money on NIL, finding the right culture pieces for you, and that's probably a problem too. Where Dave Aranda focused so much on culture, sometimes you can maybe let some things slide, or you don't see that you had some guys that you need to get rid of. So this roster had to be rebuilt and reshaped in a different way than Dave Aranda's ever done it. And it's not just about money, it's about culture, and it's about fit and all those things. And hopefully they found that.
Yeah, I mean, there were so many changes. It's hard to just sit there and focus in on one single thing. I'm very hesitant to get too into the weeds on Dave Aranda's personality and how he acts and how that's like the overwhelming issue with their results. I mean, it's a sliver of a million different things. I don't think his attitude means they can't block for the quarterback or can't tackle or blow assignments or can't make the catch when they need to. All of things that were problems last year, primarily because they were young and maybe at times lacking a little bit of focus. But, I mean, yeah, there's a pressure there. They can't sit there and go play every game, though, like they're trying to save Dave Aranda's job and have that in their minds as something to worry about. They've got to go do what he always says, which is play green, and that means not sitting there worrying about outside noise or influences. So, I think that's going to be there, that pressure, because it's unavoidable, but I don't think that's anything that you focus in on or do anything but maybe use as motivation to some degree. Ultimately, though, you just got to go play football and can't worry too much about, the particulars like that.
Yeah, and you change coordinators. Jake Spavital is now the offensive coordinator, a completely different, wide-open offense that you still need to be able to run the ball, which we think the running back room might be the possible strength of this team. That also allows DeQuan Finn to do his thing. If you open things up and widen things up, then maybe he gets loose once or twice or three times a game. And then Aranda taking over the defense. Matthew Pallage is still a part of it, and the other coaches as well. What do you think? Do you think we'll see a team that plays angry, that plays fearless, that plays in control? And don't you need great speed around every position to be able to play that way? He's not a guy that likes to get too aggressive. He likes to contain things and then possibly have a chance to get to the quarterback.
The biggest surprise I saw in the last two teams from Baylor was the lack of speed that they had. They did not have, and this was true with Art Briles, Matt Rule, and Jim Grobe and all that. They had guys who could burn. First couple years of Dave Aranda, they had guys that could burn. But it seemed like once Tyquan Thornton left, they did not have any other guys like that. And the defensive players that they had, look, they have you lose Terrell Bernard and Jalen Petrie, two of the greatest defensive players in the history of Baylor.
JT Woods.
On the same team. You lose all that. They lost a lot of speed and athleticism, and they did not replace it. Like, you're not going to just go and get another Jalen Petrie. Like, that's not something you can do. He's unique, but the athleticism that those kind of guys displayed, they just didn't have those guys on either side of the ball anymore. That's where I'm most surprised. Like, you might have raw athletes, that's fine, but I'd like to see those raw athletes when they're making mistakes, making them like at high speeds.
Yeah, if you're going to make a mistake, make it aggressively, Craig.
I mean, the other thing too is that those are some of the best players this program's ever had. So that's part of what they're missing as well, is some of the best talent they've ever seen, which was all compiled on that 2021 team. That was also 3 years ago. Mm-hmm. So, that's pretty notable that it's been 3 years, and if they're still searching for those things, and that's pretty problematic because, at some point you got to move on. And I think that it's a well past time for them to move on from 2021 and, start to show a different side with a different group and different names that can make their same kind of mark. But yeah, that 2021's doing a lot of holding up of some weight the last couple of years, and it's time to move past that.
I think one of the biggest mistakes, Craig, and you're exactly right, those are difference makers, and that was just a combination, is they didn't take advantage of that 12-2 team. They didn't take advantage of it in recruiting. They didn't take advantage of it in the transfer portal, which they've admitted to.
Yeah, I mean, and also, again, that's 2 years ago. So, yeah, that's true, and it's been well documented, but it's also, it doesn't matter now, that mistake, it's still registering, but the whole acknowledgement of it's been out there, and that clearly is something Aranda's talked about, but, yeah, that happened 2-3 years ago, and, man, it's well past time, with some of that other stuff, to move on and start to, turn a new corner.
Yeah, hopefully the Caden Jenkins of the world, that big scoop and score that turned the game on its ear against UCF and things like that, you see more of it. They need it. Listen, they need it. There are some weaknesses. We're going to find that out, even some of those tonight against Tarleton State. But that game again at 6 o'clock. This is Game Day Live on KWTX and 365 Sports. One note from the Baylor Club. They're selling memberships at their tent that is at the HEB tent on the concourse at McLean Stadium. Join today and get a victory brunch for 4 tomorrow for free. So that is available today from the Baylor Club inside McLean Stadium, but at the HEB tent on the concourse. Back with more, including we're going to look at the top 25 again, also the Big 12, more focused on that, which included top 25 games. And then Ricky Thompson joins us a little bit later on. This is Game Day Live.
Baylor alumni are more than 160,000 strong. When we all join hands to support our university, we don't just move the needle, we move mountains. Working together, we create life-changing opportunities for students on the field, in the classroom, in the laboratory, and in life for generations to come. So get connected, get involved. Learn how at baylor.edu/alumni.
Score big savings at the Kickoff to Savings event at Richard Carr Buick. A first-year All-American and a 2024 Car and Driver Magazine Editor's Choice, the all-new Buick Envista starts at only $23,990. Or make the winning drive in a 2024 Buick Encore GX SUV and save $4,000 for non-GM car owners. Qualified buyers get 0.9% financing and no payments for 90 days. Score your deal at the Kickoff to Savings event going on now at Richard Carr Buick.
At Richard Carr, we give you more.
At Ideal MRI, we feel blessed to be part of the Waco community. We're a small family business here in Central Texas. At times like this, the cost of healthcare has never been more important. And unfortunately, significant illnesses and injuries still occur. And that's why Ideal MRI is open and here to serve you through this difficult time. So if you need an MRI, ask your doctor about Ideal MRI. You can schedule online in minutes at idealmri.com or call 833-IDEAL-MRI.
Make Camp Fimfo the destination for your next visit to Waco. Whether you're catching a football game, exploring the silos, or just looking to get away, Camp Fimfo Waco is conveniently located 6 miles from downtown and Baylor University. Voted a #1 best vacation rental in Waco for the last 2 years, this camping resort features cabins and RV sites and is brimming with premium amenities like on-site dining, sports courts, a swimming pool, and more. Start making unforgettable memories and book your stay at Camp Fimfo Waco.
Get ready, Baylor fans. The ultimate game weekend experience awaits you at the Baylor Club. Kick off your weekend with our Friday Night Live pep rally. With live entertainment and special appearances from the Baylor Spirit Squad, it's the perfect way to start your game weekend with a roar. On Saturdays, don't miss our Knox Hall tailgate. Enjoy delicious food, ice-cold drinks, and great company as you gear up for the big game. And after the weekend's excitement, wrap it all up with our famous Bear brunches on Sundays. Don't wait. Make your game weekends legendary with the Baylor Club membership today.
Baylor Scott & White Southwest Sports Medicine and Orthopedics, the team physicians for Baylor Athletics, diagnosing and treating all sports-related injuries, including concussions. These specialists also provide orthopedic services for athletes and non-athletes alike, whether it's knee or shoulder pain, a wrist injury, orthopedic spine care, and even an arthritis and total joint clinic. Trust the doctors Baylor Athletics trust. Baylor Scott & White Southwest Sports Medicine and Orthopedics wants to get you back in the game.
Thompson, Baylor radio sideline analyst, former wide receiver, and then, of course, a part of the NFL with Washington, the Redskins, when that was who they were. We're joined by Ricky, Craig Smoak, Paul Catalina, David Smoak. Ricky, thank you very much. I'm telling you this, and I mean this sincerely. I have no idea what to expect on Saturday. Do you?
Smoke, I really don't. I saw a couple of scrimmages, and scrimmages are so hard for me to judge because you've got, even if you got one-on-ones, you have an offense and a defense that have watched the other side. They know exactly what they're going to do. They know what the play calls are. And particularly when you have an offense that has maybe scripted the scrimmage, there's just no way to tell because you can't make any adjustments. You can't adjust the play call. You can't do a lot of things that particularly this spread offense will do when you can make adjustments. So it's just hard to tell. So I really just watch individuals and see what I think and judge it from there. And with all that said, I don't have a clue. I really don't. I think that Saturday is going to be so important to see. I do know that this team has a different attitude. I think that's clear. I think the approach will be different. I think the pregame approach will be different. I know the game time approach will be different with Dave running the defense, Spav running the offense. I'm really anxious to see how that dynamic works. And I think we'll learn a lot Saturday just from that. But I'm encouraged. I think there's a lot of talent out there. And I think here's my one thing that I do know. This is probably the fastest team we've had since, at least 21 and maybe all the way back to some of the Browse era team. I know the last team Rule had had a lot of speed, but this team can run everywhere. And that's one thing we've been missing. You can't coach speed, and we do have guys that can run.
Ricky Thompson segment with us. JJ Joe will join us every other week as well from Baylor Radio, brought to you by Richard Carr Motors and also Alliance Bank. Paul?
Ricky, DeQuan Finn, named the starter, shouldn't be a surprise. He's super athletic. But how athletic will he have to be if that offensive line struggles? And especially considering last year in the early games where you thought the offensive line could kind of gel and push around some of these teams. If they don't do that against Tarleton State, isn't that like a red alert there?
Well, I think possibly it is. But remember, too, they have shuffled these guys back and forth positions, different guys in different positions. And I just think particularly as many new guys as there are involved in that offensive line, it's going to take 2 or 3 games to really get guys in the right spot. So I think some of that can be just getting guys in the right spot. Now, against Tarleton, whoever they have in there, they should be able to handle it. Now, that doesn't mean they will. We could have said the same thing about Texas State 2 years ago or last year, and that didn't happen. But I think talent-wise, these guys look really good getting off the bus, if nothing else. I'm telling you. They look like an offensive line, and I just think we get these guys in the right spot. But going back to Finn, again, can't coach speed. I think his reaction is really good. His arm is probably average, but it doesn't have to be a great arm in this offense, so that doesn't bother me. And the pure fact, to me, there's nothing worse on a defense than being 3rd and 9, having all your guys covered, and you got a quarterback that takes off and runs for 15. That is so disheartening. And with Finn back there, that's something we haven't had in a long time. And I think it's going to be a weapon, and I think Spav will use it. So in that regard, speed everywhere, and I'm encouraged by that. And you're right, no surprise he was named the starter.
Ricky, who's a name, and maybe it's DeQuan Finn, but who's a name or a unit maybe you've heard about this offseason that intrigues you most?
Well, you know what? One of them, I'm going to pick the receivers for one. And I think again, we're going back to speed. We're going back to some of these transfers. Ashton Hawkins, for one, the dude is probably 170. He's got hands that were like Raymond Chester, a tight end I played with. They're huge.
Yeah.
And I've seen him make 2 or 3 one-handed snags. And I don't mean just reach up and stop it. I mean catch it like it's a baseball. Great hands, really good speed. And I think the combination of him and Monterey in that inside slot, number one, I think it's going to make Monterey better because he better play because Ashton's going to. And I heard him at one scrimmage coming back to the huddle, and he screamed, "Throw me the dang ball." Not the exact word he used, but he was saying, "Throw me the ball." And, man, I like that. It's okay. Get ticked off out there and want the ball in your hands. And I think he's a guy that we're really going to be excited about. And then, of course, you've got all the guys coming back. Hal Presley, Keytron, Jackson outside. And I tell you what, Trigg, this guy is a specimen. And if he gets his head around this offense, he is a guy that is, 6'3", 6'4", 250, and they can play him in the slot, in the spread. That's tough, guys. You put a 5'9" corner on that and see what happens.
Ricky, you mentioned the demeanor. It's one thing to say it. It's another thing to do it. How do you know? Do you know? Do you know if someone's just saying it or when they actually truly do believe it?
Well, I don't think you know it till you see Saturdays. Practice is practice, what Allen Iverson said many years ago.
Oh, yeah.
But, you've got to practice and you got to do it well. I'm not making light of that, but practice doesn't count. Those catches in practice, you don't see those on any stat. You don't see practice tackles on the stat sheet. The only ones you see are the ones under the lights. And it's a different atmosphere. You can't recreate that speed in practice. I don't care what you do. So it's game day. And I think that's all that we'll know. And that's the only way we'll be able to tell is how these kids react during the game. But I just think there's an opportunity there that we've not had the last couple of years as far as maybe talent and the attitude. And I think they do need to win a couple of early games to get the feel of it. You got to win the Tarleton game. Utah on the road is going to be tough. You have to come back and beat Air Force and then go get after Colorado. You end that up 3-1 or so. There's no telling where these guys go after that because you've got some confidence and some wins in your pocket. So I think these first games are going to be very, very important.
Ricky, defensively, is the strength of the team in the secondary or is it up front?
Paul, I think it's up front. That may be the reverse of what some think, and I'm not saying that the secondary is not talented. Of course, you got Caden Jenkins back and Lemire and a lot of these guys that are talented and good players that have a lot of depth back there as well. But it just seems like these front 7 guys, to me, look pretty talented. And if you've got a pass rush up there and the ability to stop the run and make these teams throw the ball, I think that's a huge advantage. I know we've struggled some there. So I think it's these front 7 guys that have a chance to be pretty good.
Ricky, what was it like after all of the offseason work and, in the case of the NFL, training camps, but I guess training camps in college as well, but just what was that like to finally get into that first real game, that feeling for better and maybe even for worse because you realize, hey, we're not quite ready here, but what was that like from your standpoint?
Yeah, I think, Craig, it was always a relief. It was always so good to have camp over. That is such a grind, and I know that don't particularly have 2-a-days like some of us old guys did, but it's still a grind. It's hard, it's hot. It's a lot of work. You're going against your own guys. And I just think it's such a relief to get out of camp and get into a schedule and play other guys and really see where you are. And I think that attitude and plus the other thing, remember too, that practice backs off. They try to get these guys legs under them and it should be And other than health issues, this should be as good as these guys have felt since the day they walked in first part of August.
Ricky, thank you very much. Can't wait to the next time. We'll have JJ next week, and we'll have you the week of that, 1974, the memories against Air Force. Look forward to that and some of your memories of that great year that you mentioned that won the Southwest Conference title. Ricky Thompson with us, former Baylor receiver and also sideline analyst for Baylor Radio on 365 Sports.
Kick back and save during Du Bois Furniture's incredible Labor Day sale. Fresh looks, fantastic savings up to 60% off store-wide. Plus, save even more with bonus in-store discounts or special financing. Now at Du Bois Furniture.
I am so glad we called SPJST to help with our retirement.
I'll never forget the day we called them.
You need to call SPJST and set up that annuity. I do not want to retire like your parents.
What do you mean?
Y'all, we're out of toilet paper.
Yeah, I'll call SPJST right now.
SPJST Annuities. With guaranteed growth and income to last your entire life. It's easier than hindsight.
Good call.
SPJST. Growing wealth for Texas families since 1897.
Chevy lets you begin every day fully charged, so you can go farther. And so can your money. Tow with confidence. Plus, stay connected with available OnStar technology. For summer adventures, Chevy's got you. Well-qualified buyers can get 1.9% financing on this 2024 Silverado. Or get $5,750 total cash allowance. That's 10% below MSRP. Chevrolet, the #1 selling brand in the Waco area.
Every great date starts with a great night's sleep. Now during Du Bois Furniture's Labor Day mattress sale, upgrade your sleep and save up to $900 on select Stearns & Foster, Tempur-Pedic, and Sealy adjustable sets. Only at Du Bois Furniture.
An innovation for second chances. Monday night at 10 on KWTX.
After 6, but we go back to McLean Stadium. Darby Brown. And Darby, it's always interesting, the emotions of the opening game. And what are your thoughts about how they look tonight?
I think it's really the thoughts of many that we're not exactly sure how they're going to be, but we're going to find out tonight. That's the good thing about it, finally getting to see the full product of this team. There's been a lot of changes, as well documented. At this point, you just got to get tired of talking about it, quite frankly, and you're just ready to see truly what this team will be. They have a good opponent tonight. Obviously, Tarleton losing their quarterback is big for what this game really could have been, but a good opportunity for Baylor to show out and get a good start here tonight.
Darby, you have a final score prediction?
Ooh, no, I'm not going to give one. I don't have one. We'll see what happens. I don't know. I don't love to get score predictions just because, I don't know. We'll have to see how it goes.
Darby Brown, thank you very much for getting up early with us as well. Great shots, great look. Appreciate you. We'll see you tonight. Tarleton State Baylor kickoff at just after 6 o'clock at McLean Stadium. Back to wrap it up in just a moment.
Game Day Live, sponsored locally by Central Texas Plumbing Solutions and Bird Colgin Ford.
Central Texas Plumbing Solution is the team you can count on to go the extra mile and resolve your plumbing problems quickly and thoroughly, getting it done right the first time. So when you need some help before the big game, call Central Texas Plumbing Solutions.
Hi, I'm Mark Stewart with Bird Colgin Ford. Get out of the heat and come check out our Labor Day sales event in the largest showroom in Texas at Bird Colgin Ford. Right now, get 3.9% on the F-150. Save big with 2.9 on the Ford Explorer. Don't miss 1.9 on the Ford Escape. Come celebrate the final days of summer during the Labor Day sales event at Bird Colgin Ford. Experience better at BK Ford.
What sets Hillcrest Dental Care apart is our vision of how we want to care for our patients to improve their health and their quality of life, whether it's the teeth, the gums, the bite, or the smile.
Because I didn't feel anything at all. When I woke up there, I had everything done. I go to the restaurant to eat, and the waitress said this, "You got new teeth." So they noticed them too. If you want something done that is good and permanent, this is the place to go.
Central Texas Plumbing Solution is the team you can count on to go the extra mile and resolve your plumbing problems quickly and thoroughly, getting it done right the first time. So when you need some help before the big game, call Central Texas Plumbing Solutions.
Of Game Day Live 2024, the college football season. Tonight, just after 6, Tarleton State, Baylor at McLean Stadium. We've heard from players. We've heard from analysts. We've heard from Todd Whitten, the head coach at Tarleton State. And throughout the year, we hope to mix in some conversations with coaches on the staff and their view of what they see and what they expect. Paul, Craig, your thoughts about tonight? I know we were asked about predictions. The quarterback, starting quarterback, Tarleton State, had a thumb injury. He's not playing. Todd Whitten told us that. I thought they were going to win no matter what. Does that change your mind on how much?
Maybe a little. I mean, I didn't want to put too much of like when I made my score prediction, I think I had like 38-14 or something like that on it. And I just didn't want to put too much on the Baylor offense in the first game out. Not to mean that they won't be effective, but I think there probably going to be some growing pains no matter what. I still think they win big. I think that this is something to get momentum, and they need to feel – I think the most important thing you have to feel is coming out of this game, you only have one more game that's not a Big 12 game technically in Air Force. The rest of your games are all Big 12 games, even though the Utah game will not count against either team's conference record. But – it is pretty much the Big 12 from here on out, save Air Force. So you need to come out of this game feeling super, super confident.
I think they should win easily. I think they should win big, and I understand where you might be hesitant to think they're going to flex their muscles too much because it's the first game, but it's also the easiest team they're going to play in the entire schedule. So if they're going to flex their muscles, this is the game to do it because they're not going to play anybody else of Tarleton State's caliber. Air Force is going to be a completely different animal. And then the rest of the Big 12, schedule, as Paul mentioned, the rest of the schedule is Big 12 teams. There's not going to be a lot of blowouts in their favor that are on that schedule unless this team's just much better than we expect them to be. So they should win big today. Just stay healthy. That's the biggest thing. And, hopefully get some good work in. And I'm looking forward to seeing DeQuan Finn run around for the first time and Dave Aranda call this defense for the first time and just see who's grown up this offseason. You know what would be nice is it's been a while to see a wide receiver running free for Ashton Hawkins or a Monterey Baldwin, whoever it might be, a clutch third down conversion, maybe even early in the game, a defense that gets, after the quarterback and disrupts plays behind the line of scrimmage. That's not asking for too much because that's what they should do. They're Baylor, and they have a nice, if you think about the last decade or so of college football with, yes, a wart or a hickey or two along the way. What would it be like just to look good? And, Craig, you said stay healthy. Utah next week against a ball of angry razor blades, as we've described them. It's important to look good just in general, no matter who you're playing the next week. I don't think it really changes the Utah game all that much. They were very impressive. We didn't talk about them. They played a lowly team that they should have beaten the way that they've beaten them, but Cam Rising looked good. Brant Keithy looked really, really good with 3 touchdowns, but that's a problem for them to worry about next week. I don't care about who's next. It's important for the program in general just to look good because a year ago they dragged us 8 times to that stadium, and they won one single game. Mm-hmm. And it was towards the beginning of the year. And that was one of the worst, most just dragged out, agonizing football seasons I've ever personally been a part of on a weekly basis. So I think it's huge to look good for your fans that show up so that they continue to show up and you don't put them through what that was like last year.
Paul, less than a minute, Darby even brought that up. Not only was it hard for the fan base and the coaches, it was hard to cover them last year.
It was hard to do everything. It was, it was like eating your vegetables over and over and over again and then not getting dessert.
Broccoli or what?
Yeah, you remember like when you were a kid and your parents were like, gotta eat your vegetables, you won't get dessert. And then like, okay, I ate them. Like, yeah, sorry, we lied.
I remember Brussels sprouts, and I tried to hide them in my milk, and my mom always looked at the bottom of the glass, and nope, you got to now eat them no matter what. Garrett Ross, great job. Thanks to everybody back at KWTX. Thanks to our sponsors. Thanks for those of you who got up early with us today. We'll have a post-game show immediately following Baylor and Tarleton State. For Garrett, Craig, Paul, and everyone else, I'm David Smoak. Have a great Saturday.
If you need a system repair or replacement, call the good folks at Clark Heating and Air Conditioning. They're family owned and operated since 1999 and offer best of the best installation, maintenance, and customer service. Being Waco's Tempstar Elite dealer, they have the best warranties and financing options. The Clark team is knowledgeable, well-trained, and ready to serve you. Call Clark Heating and Air Conditioning today and see why they're Waco's Tempstar Elite dealer.
I would never forget the picture that I have. I'm the only one that's not smiling. Even though I'm with my close friends, I felt alone. I didn't feel pretty. I didn't feel confident. When I got Invisalign, I built my confidence. It was the best investment that I could do.
Struggling with moderate to severe Crohn's disease or ulcerative colitis? Talk to your doctor about #1 prescribed Entyvio, offering 2 maintenance options, including the Entyvio pen. Infusion and serious allergic reactions can happen during or after treatment. Entyvio may increase risk of infection, which can be serious. PML, a rare, potentially fatal brain infection, cannot be ruled out. Tell your doctor if you have an infection, flu-like symptoms, sores, or are prone to infections. Liver problems can occur. Entyvio, relief, remission for real.
Teens have drama.
One more minute.
Braces add more drama.
Oh, how does anyone do this?
Invisalign is better oral hygiene and no drama.
An innovation for second chances. Monday night at 10 on KWTX.